share real experiences that bring out the humor and motivations of regular day-to-day life. You're tuned in to Makeshift Motivation. Fill your cup with us on Facebook Live every Monday. Here are your hosts, Tammy Wisell Hubbard and Ashley Valdez.
We are. Hello, Miss Ashley.
Hello.
How are you, my love?
I'm doing well today. How are you?
Hey.
Oh.
I was doing my affirmations this morning like a good girl.
Sweet.
Yes, indeedy.
Same.
Yeah. Yep. All is
Got
good.
to. They're
Yep.
very important. Yep.
I think so too.
I woke up and I walked out the door and slipped on it was like it was a paper on the floor from the boys' schooling and busted my butt right out the door. Landed on my bad knee, like shocked waves through my bad back. It was fun. So I said my affirmations extra loud today after that.
With extra enthusiasm.
Yes.
Oh my. So how do you
I
feel
will
now?
only get better from here is what it's.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's not good. Well, you didn't fall down the stairs, so that's a good thing. I mean,
yeah.
So it could always be worse.
That has also happened here outside to me. It's fine. Totally fine.
Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I learned myself recently that, when you get older and you fall down, it's a little bit harder to get back up. No doubt about it.
I thought I lost my kneecap again for a second. It was okay, though.
Sure. That's terrible. Oh, I'm glad you're okay.
Jordan was like, "What happened to you? What happened?" I was like, "Ah."
And you want to tell them so bad what happened, and you can't breathe because the pain is like, I can't breathe. You're just gonna give me a second to let me breathe again.
Yeah. And then it was fine. So no biggie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody's noticed, but we are pretty in pink today. Yes, we're doing that pink thing today. As most everybody knows, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes.
So obviously, being Makeshift Motivation, we would not want to let Breast Cancer Awareness Month go by without encouraging those that we love, that listen to us, to go and get their mammograms and do their self-examinations and all of that. So today we are dedicating our show to breast cancer awareness.
Yes.
Obviously. So we have a special guest that we're going to talk to. But before we do that, Ashley, you had a few things that you wanted to share with us about breast cancer that maybe everybody doesn't know.
Yes, I found a few interesting stats. It's a little bit more serious than I'm used to, so excuse me while I'm trying to get in my zone here. So 1 in 8 women in the United States will develop breast cancer in her lifetime. Wow. 1 in 8. That's a lot. Breast cancer, is the most common cancer found in American women besides skin cancers. Yep, I didn't know that either. Mm-hmm. On average, it's the part where it gets a little scary. So this is part of the awareness. We don't want to scare you, but you got to know the facts.
Listen, knowledge is power, baby.
Yeah, yep. On average, every 2 minutes, a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer in the United States. So we've been on for 5 minutes? That's such a scary fact. 64% of breast cancer cases are diagnosed at a localized stage, meaning it has not moved to any other part of the body. It is just in the breast tissue, for which the 5-year survival rate is 99%. So yes, the sooner you catch it, the more likely. That's
the good news.
That is what we are here for. So over 40,000 women a year do not survive breast cancer in the United States.
Wow.
But there are over 3.5 million breast cancer survivors in the United States. And last but not least, although it is rare, men do also get breast cancer too. There are about 2,600 men diagnosed with breast cancer every year. Woo!
So this is
A
not
lot.
just the girls. Now,
Yeah.
what all of that says to me is this.
Mhm.
The key is to catch it early. And
Yes.
the way we catch it early, girls, is we go get our little booby squeeze, our mammograms. I know they're no fun. I know they suck. I don't care. We have to do them. It's just that's just the way it is. We have to do them, and we have to do our self-examinations and, you know, be pay attention, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, to what's going on with our bodies. That's, you know, because if we catch it early, our chances of survival are much greater than obviously if we don't. So, and I'm
Right.
talking as Tammy, I'm not like a doctor or anything like that. We all know that.
Right. This is just it's like the common sense stuff, I guess. But
Yeah.
I have never done a mammogram, but I know I need to get one already. I actually just very recently read someone just a couple years older than me passed away from breast cancer, and that scared me. So I'm getting old, girl. I gotta get. I'm getting to that age.
When you're
I'm getting to that age.
2, you're not old, so back off, biatch.
Listen.
Typically, I don't
Oh my
think
goodness.
that they do. I mean, now I don't know. This would have been something that I should have looked up. How old are you when they do mammograms now? I got my first when I was 40.
Yeah, I read a lot that once you start getting into your 40s is when you're supposed to do them, but I also read a lot of much younger women
It does happen.
who never caught it and just it was too late and they weren't even, mid 30s, and that is so insane. So I really think this episode is going to be extremely important for people. I don't know if there's anyone out there who does not know how to do a self breast exam, perhaps should show real quick, maybe. I don't know.
If you want to show, knock yourself out because
I'm not gonna like whip it out up here, but I can't go into the basics.
Okay, so
it's not gonna be that exciting. Sorry.
Okay, so give us the basics of a self-exam, Ash.
Okay, so here's how I have been taught all my life is to usually not do it around the time of your period because there are changes in your body that occur. It's one of the things the doctor always tell me. They tell me to do it in the shower standing up straight, and you just raise your one arm. You start your 3 fingers right here, and you start just pushing and checking all of your lymph nodes, your breast tissues, which go through all the side right here. So you just go ahead, get down, and then once you get to your breast, you're going in small circles all the way around until the center for both sides.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. We should definitely be doing that often.
Yes, we should.
And
I know a lot of us don't. I mean,
Yes.
I'm going to be honest. I don't, I think about it once a year when October comes and I know it's breast cancer awareness. Oh, shoot, I should be doing my breast exam. So
right.
For those of us that did not know how, we now know how. You can also check with your primary care physician and they can tell you also, or your, oh my gosh, your gynecologist. All I could think was obstetrician, and I'm like, no, that's not right. That's not right, Tammy.
Too far.
Your gynecologist can help you. So anyway, yes. I want to bring on today's guest because I'm super excited about today's guest.
Yes.
She actually is a breast cancer survivor. She survived breast cancer, you guys, 31 years ago. Okay.
That's insane and amazing.
So you can survive breast cancer and live a long, healthy, beautiful life. And I'm so excited to bring her on because she's my Aunt Judy.
Yay, Aunt Judy!
There she is. Hi.
I was worried for a minute you were going to say, and you can survive until the age of, and I thought you were going to mention my age.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that to you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So welcome, Aunt Judy. Thank you for coming on. And I have to say before we get started, Aunt Judy is a notoriously private person. So for her to come on today and talk with us about this is huge, y'all. It is huge. Okay. So I really, really appreciate it. And Judy, thank you for doing this for me.
You're welcome.
And thank you for doing it for everybody that might listen to the show. We're going to share it everywhere because we want everybody to listen to it. And hopefully, if it encourages one person to go get their mammogram, then it is well worth the time.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, Aunt Judy, I mentioned that you were diagnosed 31 years ago. So, that must have been, you were quite young then, you said, obviously.
Right.
I'm not going to ask you to say exactly how old you are because I know you don't want to.
I don't mind at all. I was 42 years old at that point.
Wow.
So young to be diagnosed with breast cancer.
Very young. Wow.
And basically, just as a reaffirmation to what Ashley was showing, is that the way that I started the whole process was I was in the shower and discovered the lump myself, and I'd like to say it was because of self-examination, but it was really more that I was taking my shower and discovered the lump. Wow. Which basically brought me to my knees. And it was before I even knew, what was going on, whether it was just a lump or what. But that is how the whole process began. And then going to my doctors, having a mammogram, having I want to say a sonogram, doing all the processing leading up to
the actual diagnosis.
Right. Yeah.
So now you were 42. So had you already started to get your yearly mammograms at that point or not yet?
I believe that I may have had one.
Okay, so they did have a baseline
at that point.
For you then.
So yes, so that was the one good thing. So they had that, which said, okay, at that point there was nothing there, and then okay, now here it is July, and there is something there. So that was a good thing. It was a fast moving, fast growth lump, and so, but they knew that a year ago it wasn't there, so that was a plus.
So you caught it early.
Obviously. Caught it fairly early. Yes, and they did a needle biopsy. I will tell you that they felt it was not cancer, but because it was so large, they felt that the lump should still be removed. So I went into the hospital thinking that they would remove the lump and that everything would be wonderful. And the doctor came in and said, I am so sorry to say to you that it is cancer. Wow. And then they had not taken out any lymph nodes because they did not believe that it was cancer. So I had to go back in for another surgery to remove lymph nodes, but they were not affected. So it was just the lump. They felt they got all the tissue around the lump, and so they were pleased about that. And then we kind of moved on to, okay, what is my treatment going to be? From there. And because I was premenopausal, they felt as though the best treatment would be to have chemotherapy and radiation. And so I did 4 sessions of chemo every 3 weeks. And then after that, I did 6 weeks of Monday through Friday radiation. So back then, the only radiation facility was in Dartmouth, which was an hour and 15 minutes away. So every day we traveled to Dartmouth and had the radiation treatment. So as much as sometimes I get annoyed with the fact that I don't think enough progress has been made, it's like, okay, really the ability for treatment is so much better than it was 31 years ago. I guess my feeling is it's been 31 years. They should have found a way to not have breast cancer being what it is, and the figures that you're quoting, Ashley.
Right.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I don't blame you for feeling that way. And you live in a very rural area in Vermont, so I almost said New Hampshire.
Yeah. Close enough.
Don't know. I'm from a very small town in New Hampshire, but you go across the bridge, across the Connecticut River, and you're in Vermont. So sometimes I say I'm from New Hampshire, and sometimes I say I'm from Vermont because I have family in both places. I lived in both places, so there you go. But
Nice.
so,
That's right.
you know, having the availability of treatment in your area, obviously that was an issue because you can't drive yourself an hour and a half when you're going radiation. So you have to, you know,
had a team of people.
Yeah, obviously. So thank God you had that team. Thank God
Correct.
you had that team. So like looking back at that now, at that time, like kind of thinking about before you found the lump, do you think there were any like warning signs or anything like that that you should have, like maybe looking back thinking, well, maybe that was because of the breast cancer? Or was it just like, oh, here's this lump, holy crap, oh my gosh, it's cancer?
Yeah, there really was no warning signs. And I think that's one of the things that is the issue with breast cancer, and is that there's really not any pain related to breast cancer. It's really a matter of, that's why the self-examination, the mammograms, all of that are so important, because usually what they'll tell you is that if you've got a tumor or something that's hurting, it's probably not cancer. And that's my own statement. So that's not any kind of a medical statement or anything, but from my remembrance of back then, it was like, but nothing hurt. And it was like, no, there's nothing basically to hurt. You know, since then, would they say, you know, after my diagnosis and after all of the treatment and everything, you know, lots of conversation about, okay, fine, is breast cancer related to stress? Is it related to your diet? Is it related to your weight? And, you know, I just found that that was less helpful kind of thinking those subjects, because it was more harmful to me than helpful, because it was like, okay, don't we all just live, even 31 years ago, in a stressful world? Could we have eaten better? I think 31 years ago, less conversation about all the healthy options that you have.
Oh, absolutely.
And was I overweight back then? Very much. Not very much, but I was overweight. I would never say very much, but I was overweight. And, you know, and I would often say, but you know what was the predetermining factor for me? Because I have 4 sisters. So I'm the only one that ended up with breast cancer, and none of us ate well. a couple of us had weight issues. A couple of us had major stress issues. So was there really just some mutant gene that kind of was there for me?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I just found it less helpful to kind of
to think about the what ifs.
Keep going. Oh well, you know what? I should have eaten better. Oh well, I should have had less stress in my life. Oh well, I had 3 children. Of course, I had stress in my 2 boys.
Being able to get through the day without, and still able to form a coherent sentence was a win for you at 3 kids.
Exactly. There would be no homeschooling, let me tell you that.
Oh, I've said it 1,000 times. Poor Ashley's dealing with the, e-learning with 3.5-year-olds. Come on, give me a break. They want to play. What do they know from e-learning? But so yeah, definitely, I feel your mind. I feel you there. So when you were first diagnosed, and obviously you have to tell your family, which must be, I can't even imagine, tremendously difficult. Knowing you as I do, I kind of already know the answer to this question, but your mindset at that point, were you like, I'm going to get through this, everything's going to be fine, we're going to do what we have to do, and that's the way it's going to be, and I'm going to be fine? Did you kind of have to get to that point, or were you just immediate? Because I know that's you, and I know you were like, okay, this is what I got to do, and I'm going to fix it, I'm going to be fine.
So what's when A, B, C, exactly. I mean, I just, once I ended up talking with the oncologist and the people who really knew versus the general practitioners that I was dealing with 31 years ago, it was really, he was a godsend to me. He was like, look at, we'll get through this. You're going to be fine. He gave me the encouragement to feel like that everything was going to be okay. And of course, my family was strong, but there were certainly a lot of tears. The hardest part was calling my mom, who was in Florida at that time, and I really didn't want her to know anything until I knew some answers, because I didn't want to say to her, I've got breast cancer, I don't know what's going to happen. I wanted to have some answers before that happened. So, she came up a couple of times when I'd had my chemotherapy, and God bless her. And of course, people were rallying around me. I had worked for the same company for, at that point, 15 years, maybe 16 years, because I ended up working for them for 40 years by the time I was done. Wow. But so I may have worked longer. So I'd worked for the same company for a long time. So, I had some concerns about that and whether, about my job. But, they were, he was extremely supportive. The company was very supportive. And that really basically got me through. And I know what you're saying. I mean, I'm kind of like, okay, then let's find out what to do. I will tell you that what happens is you just don't know the questions to ask until you're like into it more. They'll sit there after they diagnosed you and they'll say, do you have any questions? And it's like, I have no idea whether I have any questions or not. Right. But then afterwards, between telling your family, who then asks you a million questions, and you're just kind of, dealing with what the next thing is, then you have lots of questions. And I think it's always wicked important to have someone with you um, when you're talking to these folks, because a lot of times you just don't remember everything that is being said,
Yeah.
and sometimes you interpret it one way and it really was another way. And it gives you an opportunity to be able to go back and say, hey, look at, so and so thinks you said, and I think you said. So it gives you a chance to be able to actually question what the right things are. So,
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely, I think, right, Ash, like to take somebody
Yeah.
with you to your doctor's
Absolutely.
appointments.
And there are times where as soon as I walk into a doctor's, I'm so nervous I forget everything that I want to ask. It's another reason why I
absolutely.
like someone to go with me, because I'll forget and hopefully they won't.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've even
Exactly.
written down questions before, and then you leave them in your bag the whole time, and then getting in the car.
Right.
Oh yeah, I should ask the doctor this, this, and this.
Right.
And these days,
Yep.
it's hard enough to get a doctor's appointment. So if you have questions, you need to make sure you have somebody with you to help you through that.
Yeah.
And you have a 15-minute appointment, and now you've gone 20 minutes, and we need to move on. I mean, most of the doctors around here are very, very good. um, Again, a lot of what I'm relating is 30 years ago, 31
Right.
years ago.
Yeah.
I feel as though once I got in touch with the specialists, I was in very capable hands. Um, Sometimes, though I have to say, my general practitioner, who has since passed, obviously, um, was good about making sure I got the mammogram scheduled, that I got my um, biopsy scheduled, that I got all of those things. He wasn't afraid to kind of push forward quickly,
To help you through it.
to make sure that, I wasn't sitting around for hours and days
Yeah.
waiting to find out something. So,
That has to be almost worse. Well, not worse than, but equally as stressful as the illness itself is the
Right.
waiting
The waiting.
for the answers to all of the questions and the results from all of the tests. And that's got to be extremely stressful. I can't even
right.
imagine.
Yeah.
So now, after you had surgery, so you didn't know before you had surgery that you had to have chemotherapy and the radiation. You found that out after surgery.
Correct.
And
Mm.
then
Yeah.
how long did you have the chemotherapy and the radiation for, Aunt Judy?
We had 4 sessions of chemotherapy every 3 weeks. Um, the first week that I had it, the first time I had it, um, they had great anti-nauseous drugs, but they didn't really work for me that well, and I was very, very sick. By the second one, they had put me in the hospital um, while I was having the chemotherapy, and they kept me there for 24 hours so that they could do IVs and make sure that I was not going home sick, because in order to get the chemo to flush through you, you really need to stay hydrated, and I just wasn't able to stay hydrated. So, um, I was saying just to Barbara today um, that one of the things that, and I don't know if I would call her a nurse because she was far above that, um, had said to me after my first session was, I had jokingly said to her, I know you say these anti-nauseous drugs are wonderful, but I will tell you that if I stub my toe, I throw up. And we all kind of joked about it and everything. But after the first one, um, she had said to me, you know what? The lesson you have taught me is that we really need to be more in tune with our patients. They know their bodies better than we do. So I'm taking you very serious when you say that, because obviously I was sick for like 24 hours. So that's why they made a decision after that to put me in the hospital and make sure I was hydrated. And I do think 30 years later, there are much better anti-nauseous drugs out there, but I am sure there's one in God knows how many that still have some issues and need some help with that. So,
Right.
Absolutely.
but so we did that, and then I don't know exactly how long after my chemo was done that we then started the 6 weeks of radiation. So, and of course, and everyone said, this radiation is going to be a piece of cake because the chemo was so bad. Not so much. So, I mean,
No, of course not.
so I wasn't sick. I was very tired. Um, and basically, radiation is something that builds up. So, the radiation treatment you had 3 days ago basically maybe just starting to touch your skin 3 days later. So, I ended up with a very, very burnt breast. And so I was saying, though, I think that it was during that period of time that I probably had the best drugs I've ever had in my life. Um, but so that was not a pretty scene. But then once that was over with, I was like, okay, you know, every 6 months, I think, maybe it was every 3 months to begin with, I would go for a mammogram, and then you would wait for the results. Uh, Now they're much, much better about that, and probably a few years into or after my treatments, they got very much better about not making people wait long term for results of mammograms. I mean, at one time, it could take a week for you to get your mammogram results. Um, and then it got to the point where it was like, okay, wait a minute, we can't make these women wait this amount of time. And especially if you've already had a diagnosis, and here
Right.
you are
Yeah.
waiting this
Yeah,
amount of
it's
time for it. But
nerve-wracking
yeah,
for sure.
yep,
I mean, even if you haven't had a diagnosis, that's like to wait is just it is. It's very nerve-wracking. So I can imagine
yeah,
with a diagnosis on top of it, you're like, on the edge of your seat already. So
right.
so back it was 1989, so I don't know, did we even have home computers back then where we had an online community like we do now? Where, I mean, obviously we didn't have Facebook, but we
No,
didn't really have,
Probably not, but were there? Yeah, I wouldn't imagine until like the earlier or mid '90s, right?
yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
I remember when I was working at Country News, our computer still took up a quarter of the office. So yeah, you didn't have home computers back then. Um, you There was here in Brattleboro even there were no kind of support groups.
that was
I
where I was
remember
Mm,
going with
that.
that,
yeah.
was towards the
Yeah,
support group and that kind of stuff. So there really wasn't that
it,
those
it
resources
was it
for you
was
either.
years later when um, my boss, Steve Baker's wife, um, was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she ended up, I think, very much one of the founding uh, fathers of a breast cancer support group, and so and that was years later. So yeah, And it was,
Wow. So, yeah.
yeah, there
Wow.
wasn't, and even after my breast cancer, there still weren't a lot of people that were coming out and talking about it. And I try to think at what point that kind of turned, but I'm getting old, so I can't remember that. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it was
well, we talked about it a little bit before that it's just not something that people really talked about, back
right,
then. It was just a taboo kind of, not that it was taboo, but it was just, it was a girl thing and we didn't talk about girl things.
well, and we didn't talk about cancer a lot. I go back to that. It wasn't like, I mean, I know right now we're talking about breast cancer, but you didn't you didn't know uh, 20 men who had prostate cancer. And nowadays, it's like it seems as though you can barely turn the corner without somebody saying, "Hey, my husband had it, my brother had it, my cousin had it, my uncle had it, my brother-in-law had it." So it's like, all types of cancers basically were not talked about that much. And I think it's good, obviously, that they are. I have a friend who um, gets very, I don't want to say annoyed, but the whole pink ribbon thing uh, bugs her in a way because she feels as though there's nothing pink and pretty about cancer. But
Hmm.
my feeling is that prior to all of that, there really wasn't a lot of conversation. So the fact that it's gotten us to where we are, I think is a good thing.
I do too.
So
I
Yeah.
do too.
it,
And if
Yeah.
it takes a pretty pink ribbon to get us there, then so be it. You know,
exactly,
it is
exactly.
what it is at this point. It's I think the more we talk about it, the more people think about it. And then, like we said earlier, if we encourage one person to go get their mammogram or to do their self breast examination, or, to even if they know somebody in their family or their friends that hasn't had their mammogram that should have their mammogram, or, offer to go with them, to encourage
Right.
them, be there with them. You have, Aunt Judy, four sisters. So obviously that must have been a huge source of support for you.
Yes. My sister is chatting here. I'm going, shh.
Barb just came in the room, Tam. So
Oh,
That's too
so,
funny.
so
and there
yes,
they are, still supporting you.
Yes.
that's right. I, you know, I was very, very lucky. I was very, very lucky. And, um, though to this day, I cannot eat unsweetened popsicles because that's what my mom thought I should be eating. Um, and I was like, oh my God, those things are disgusting. No, I just wanted regular popsicles. So, but yes, I mean, I'm very, very lucky,
Yeah,
um,
that you had
for
that
a lot of
support system.
reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, so if that encourages somebody to say, hey, my friend, and even if it's just to go with somebody to get their mammogram, maybe there's not a diagnosis and you're just going for your yearly mammogram, make it a girls' date and then do lunch and whatever
yeah,
afterward. But to be there to support each other through that, it doesn't really, it's uncomfortable. It doesn't hurt,
right,
kind of, maybe a little bit, but it's not that. um I think it's nerve wracking on top of everything.
right.
So, maybe to encourage people to be there for each other. Like we always talk about, Ashley and I lifting each other up and helping each other out. So if you know somebody that's maybe just a little bit afraid to go get their mammogram, or to do their examinations, encourage them and offer to go with them for their mammogram, to sit in the waiting room with them. Sometimes just knowing that somebody is there with you makes all the difference in the world to your
Exactly.
mindset.
Yep.
And
unfortunately, in this time, that's difficult to do too, just because they don't like.
That's true.
But the bottom line is that even if you're sitting out in the car and say, okay, now let's go get a cup of coffee, it's like, okay, so this is done and over with, and good, we've made it through that. Encouraging somebody that's kind of gone, yeah, I know they've called me 3 times about a mammogram, but it's like, well, no, if they've called you 3 times, it's time to go.
It's time to go. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, wow. So now after you went through the chemo and the radiation and all of that, so then you had to go, like you said, every 3 months for another mammogram, and then it gradually went to 6 months. So now 31 years later, do you go once a year for your mammogram, or is it more often than that still?
No, I go once a month. I mean, no, not once a month, once a year. I did have a little bit of a scare about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. They found some cysts, and they did a biopsy on it, but it was exactly that, just cysts. And so then what they did was they had me coming back every 6 months just to make sure. But once, I think like a year and a half, they said, go back to every year. And of course, the insurance company said, go back to once a year. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's nice when the insurance company decides things on our health for us.
So now I just go. Matter of fact, I just went a month or so ago, and everything, I got the letter saying everything was wonderful. Awesome. And so I sometimes want people to know that it's been 31 years and I've survived it, and you can too. I do know that I've had friends that have not. I've had acquaintances that have not. I've had friends who have had breast cancer on one side, then breast cancer on the other side, and then another type of cancer. So I know that it's all over the place, but don't let fear keep you from doing what you need to do to make sure you're healthy.
Wow. Boom.
Like the sign on the wall says right here, you got to be fearless sometimes.
Be fearless.
You got to be fearless.
And I mean, my daughter, my daughter ended up having to start having mammograms when she was 30 because I had breast cancer.
Hereditary.
But that, that's not a bad thing. It was like, okay, just keeping an eye on her, the hereditary factor. So you want to also make sure that your family history is shared with your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, so that they know, what they've got in their, history.
Yeah. Obviously, that's super important to make sure that everybody in the family, you got to look out for each other.
Yes, everyone has to be aware of what's happened in the past to keep it, keep it from being future. Keep it from being repetitive or repeated future. Wow.
I'm like speechless right now.
That was so good. I know. I'm like, geez.
I think that doing nothing
Yeah.
doesn't help you survive.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you get your mammograms and you do your self-examinations and all of those things are not going to hurt you. They're only
Right.
there to help you. So
Right.
we know it's uncomfortable. We know it sucks. You
Mhm.
got to do it anyway. It just kind of is what it is.
Yeah,
And,
it's one of
and
those things that you don't really want to stare it down, but you kind of have to.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
believe me, there have been times that I have stuck my head in the sand and said, "Hey, you know what? I don't want to." It's never really worked out that well for me, but you know, sometimes you do that, and
Oh, I
then
do
all of
that.
a
Yeah.
sudden, yeah, then all of a sudden it's kind of like, you know, okay, this isn't working well. I think I need to do something different about this because, but you just, you know, you do the best you can do, and sometimes that's enough. So
Yeah,
you just,
exactly. So just
you know,
be there for your friends, be there for, and if your wife hasn't gone to get her mammogram, go with her, sit in the car. I don't care if it's hot, I don't care if it's cold, sit in the car.
right,
Her. I would
Oh
bet
my
my
God.
paycheck that probably 80% of women, if their husbands said to them, you have to go for your mammogram, let me go with you, I don't mind sitting in the car and waiting for you,
Oh my
80%
God.
of women would probably say yes. I think that would be
yeah,
great. I know.
Probably pass out. What? Like, who are you?
So, guys, if you've managed to listen this far into this episode
Right.
and your woman has to go get a mammogram, go with her, hold her
take
hand.
her out for coffee afterwards, maybe
Exactly.
a drink.
Whatever works for you.
That's right. That's right. That's
So,
right.
wow. I mean, thank you for sharing your story with us, Aunt Judy.
Yes.
Really, it's like just amazing. And I wanted to share stories of survival. And, I knew you would be great because you have such a good sense of humor. And Ashley and I, that's a really big thing for us is we try to be funny as much as we can because there's so many serious things in this world that,
I know. I know. So,
you know,
so here's a question. Here's a question, Tammy, that's very important to me. Um, Out of the five of us,
oh
am
Lord.
I not the funniest?
Are you not the funniest?
What you
I
say,
can't
Tam?
answer that question. Are you kidding me?
There's always a contest going on, and I'm always
my
going,
God.
I think I am the funniest.
Oh my goodness.
I
Thank you
know.
for sharing your story with us, Aunt Judy. We really,
Yeah.
really
I'm
appreciate
delighted.
Thank you so much.
I'm delighted.
it. Yeah.
So thank you for inviting me on.
It was fantastic. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
It
You
was
were
great.
so great. You were so great. So,
Thank you.
one last thing before we go. Is there anything that you would like to say that we haven't already said to women who may be fighting this battle right now?
You know, I will tell you that I think that I had heard people say to me a million times, keep a positive attitude. And I got to the point where I thought, if one more person tells me to keep a positive attitude,
I'm gonna punch them.
they're going to be picking themselves up somewhere. But I think a positive attitude is important. But I also think that you need people around you that you can share your true feelings to without them being judgmental and thinking, oh, well, she's giving up or she's this or that. It's like, you know what? Dealing with cancer sucks. And basically, I am keeping a positive attitude, but it's pretty hard to keep a positive attitude when your head's in the toilet or you're not feeling good or something like that. And you just need certain people that you can share that with that aren't going to be judgmental on thinking that, oh, well, she's just not having that positive attitude she needs to get through this, because that's not true. That's not true. So
Just somebody who will let you be you, because sometimes you do need to just.
exactly. I mean, even in everyday life, sometimes you need somebody that you can just say, you know what, my day sucked. But when you're dealing with the cancer and all of the things that go along with it, you just need to have a real core of friends and family around you that understand, that it's okay not to be up every single day. So, and a positive attitude is good.
And a positive attitude. Once your head's not in the toilet anymore.
Exactly.
Well, again, thank you so much, Aunt Judy. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and talking with us about it. And hopefully it encouraged somebody out there to go get a mammogram, or somebody to
That's
go
why,
with somebody who's got to go get a mammogram. So,
right. Encourage someone, Ashley, to go get a mammogram and to do self-exams. Those are all important things.
Yep.
And Tammy.
yes, they are. Yeah, so that's what we want to say, right, Ash? Just to
Yes.
encourage each other and
Yes. Encourage each other. Go with a buddy. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
yeah, it's important. It's
Yep.
important.
I'm 27. I have never had a mammogram yet, but because of all of the more and more piling on of younger women being diagnosed with it, is definitely something that I want to do way before I'm 30. So I'm very glad that
Yep.
we had this episode and I got to hear this firsthand account, which was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you for inviting me on.